Thank you, Steve. Well done, well read, and well sung, everybody. Christ is risen. All around the world today, this is declared. And I'm curious about this. It doesn't seem to matter what type of Christian church you're in, they declare this. But I wonder, and I don't want to dampen the spirit here, but I do wonder if it's always easy to declare that. Is it always easy to say these words? So certain, so evident, so clearly guaranteed that we say it with no hesitation, no question, no weakness. He is risen. Indeed. But what if sometimes, this Easter, a future Easter, a past Easter, those words were not easy to say and just follow along? Some of us might declare this in the season of Easter while we are going through a season of doubt. Along with the church, we declare it. Some of us might declare this and we find ourselves in a season of deep despair. Some of us might declare this in a season of grief and loss. And some might declare this while at the same time wondering how something that happened so long ago can be relevant today. Yet for many of us, these words may just come easily. I'm inviting you to consider how we declare this, because it's something we need to pay attention to. So I invite you all for this short while we're here today to ask it as a question. Christ is risen. He is? As I was preparing for this, I wondered what other churches around the world do, and I came across a story, and it's from a priest in a tradition of the Middle East called the Melkite tradition. It's an ancient Christian expression of the faith. His name is Khalid Anatolios. And he tells a story of when he was a young priest leading one of his first Easter services. And like us, they do this 3 times. He says, Christ is risen, and the congregation replies, he is risen indeed, but in their own language. They do it 3 times just like us. But as he did this, he noticed someone in the audience he didn't expect to be there. It was the archbishop of his denomination. He noticed that. He was already nervous. It was Easter Sunday, but this cranked it up a few notches. This guy had a reputation of being a fearless leader with a very sharp wit, but now he was elderly. He says he was kind of ancient, actually. This old archbishop. This was on his mind during the whole service, but after the service, he went up to him immediately, wanted to greet him in a proper way, and he was saying, how can I greet this man? What's the proper, hey, how are you today? Welcome here. But no, he thought of something much deeper. He said to him, Christ is risen. With all the conviction he could muster. It's a very sound theological thing to say, very impressive thing to say to the bishop. The archbishop looked at him. Are you sure? Khalid was unsettled and confused by this, and he thought, maybe this guy's he is really old. He didn't hear correctly. He heard something, you look like a vision. He didn't understand what it was. Are you sure? So he tried again. And maybe you've caught yourself doing this or seen other people do it when there's someone that you think doesn't hear, you kind of lean in. And Christ is risen. And he goes like this back to him. Are you sure? So he looked at his face and tried to read this, like what was going on here. Was he having a faith crisis? Was he mocking him? What was this archbishop doing? He didn't see any of that. He saw this guy that was sincere, that was really asking this question. It was a real question. So Khalid says that at this moment, he realized something. this is an important question to ask. Are you sure? It's a question that's good to be asked because so much of our faith is dependent on the resurrection. And asking questions like this deepens our faith and invites wonder. Christ is risen. Are you sure? Maybe the very first thing Jesus' own disciples said when someone told them Christ has risen was also, are you sure? That's a fair question. So when people die, they stay dead. They don't come back to life. This is known. We know this. They knew this. That's the painful reality of death and loss. In John 20, we find Mary sitting in the garden. She is sure Jesus' body has been taken, stolen, because she saw him die. And people do not come back to life. But then this happens. She sees two angels. And they ask her, why are you crying? And she says this in response. They have taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they have put him. For Mary, Christ isn't risen, he is taken. And it's a big problem. So deep is her grief, she turns around and Jesus is right there, and she doesn't recognize him. Maybe there's some fancy theological theories that explain a theological reason why she didn't recognize him. But I think there's also an ordinary explanation. Sometimes it's hard to recognize someone when you don't expect to see them, right? This happens. I was at the airport a while ago, and I was so bored, just sitting there, maybe vacated a bit. My mind was somewhere else, and this happened to me. Someone waved at me, and I looked over my shoulder, waved again, and I waved back. And then to my horror, he got up and walked towards me to talk to me. And I thought, maybe someone's behind me, but no. And he said, hey, Kevin, what are you doing here? Then, with that, it all came back. It was my very skilled barber. And we ended up having this conversation about combs and hair product and scissors and stuff. Of course, Mary didn't recognize him. She thought he was dead. Jesus asked her, woman, why are you crying? Who is it you're looking for? Thinking he was the gardener, she said, sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him. It's quite a case of mistaken identity. It's hard to see something when we don't expect it. It was hard for Mary to see Jesus because she didn't expect him. His resurrection was hard for her to see because it's not what should happen. Then something happens. Jesus says to her, Mary. And at that moment, there's this recognition that just hits. It's sudden. She knows him. Imagine her eyes kind of popped in surprise, like, I look like that. It's him. All in an instant. Jesus called her name, and the unexpected became reality. Sometimes it's hard to see clearly or hear clearly because of what we expect. And what we need is to hear our names called. So she runs off to tell the other disciples, I have seen the Lord. I've seen him. Christ is risen. And we're not sure how they all responded. It's a mixed bag with these disciples. Imagine they're all in different places because they had not seen Jesus. It was only her. She was the first. Some of them may have said, he is risen indeed. Not really sure. But probably most of them said, are you sure? Because sometimes we need to see and hear. For us today, when we hear someone say, Christ is risen, we are in a unique spot because we do not see and hear Jesus exactly the same way the disciples did back then. We must take this by faith. It's a statement of faith. We must believe. And while it is good to respond with a decision of faith, he is risen indeed. It is also good to respond with a decision and a question of curiosity. Are you sure? Both of these things can be true at once. It's the journey of faith and the experience of belief. And I think the author of the Gospel of John wants us to see something that will help us. Something about the resurrection that tells a big story of what God is doing in the world. And it's almost like he anticipated that we would be asking this question, are you sure? So in the Gospel of John, the whole garden scene is unique. He focuses in on this. The garden is a big deal for John. It is the only gospel that mentions the confusion of Jesus as a gardener. There's some background here because Jesus' tomb was in a garden. It was given to the disciples by Joseph of Arimathea. And it wasn't quite like a garden today, but like a productive, fruitful, wild garden, a place of beauty, and probably about an acre of land. It would have been full of life and growth, fertile. Vines hanging heavy with grapes, fig trees, gnarled olive trees, and maybe even a few mustard trees. Would have been full of herbs and wildflowers and ground cover like clover. Things are growing everywhere, and there were paths. It's a place of beauty. It was ripe and lush and full of life and flourishing. Here's what I think is interesting. John is showing us that the resurrection of Jesus is deeply connected to what God has done and what God is going to do. Deeply connected. And in that, gardens are central. Gardens literally bookend the whole Bible. Did you know that? The Bible starts with a garden and ends with a garden. Gardens are central. In Genesis, the first book of the Bible, there is a garden. Have you heard of that? It's the place where God's presence is with his people. Where creation is healthy and in harmony. The garden is a place of life, a place of wholeness. And in that garden, this is in Genesis 2, he placed people, and God's presence is with them. And it's full of trees that are beautiful, that are good for food. And there is a river flowing from the garden, and in the middle of the garden is the tree of life. This is Eden, the place with no curse, no death, no tears. It is the world as God intended it when he created the world, before sin and brokenness. In Revelation, the last book of the Bible, in the last chapter, there is a garden. It's a place where God's presence is with his people, where creation is healthy and in harmony, and the garden is a place of life and wholeness. The garden is the very last thing that John has shown in his vision. And in that garden, God's presence is with his people. There is a river, the water of life, flowing clear and clean down the center of the city. And in the middle of the city is this tree of life, this giant tree. It's massive. It's for healing. This garden city is a place full of growth, full of hope. There are no tears, no death, and no pain in this place. It's the world as God intends, without sin and brokenness. Now, I hope you notice something similar about these two gardens. There's a symmetry here. The presence of God, the river, the tree, the garden. What was God's original design, the garden, is what will be. The resurrection of Jesus is in a garden. And it points back to God's original design, and it points forward to what God is doing, where things are going. And both are signs and places of immense power, displays of what power really is. Power that is used to create, not destroy. Power that is used to flourish, not oppress. Power that is used to create life, not death. Jesus' tomb, a place of death, is in a garden, a place of life. Jesus' resurrection happens in the garden. I think it's fair to ask, why was Jesus even hanging out in that garden? Doesn't he have better things to do? Sitting in a garden? Why is he sitting in a garden? First thing that I would say, if we would advise him he should do, is go down his list. Hey, Pilate, I'm back. You're going to get it now. And why mistake him for a gardener? Shouldn't he be mistaken for, like, I don't know, a carpenter? A fisherman? But no, she mistakes him for a gardener. Is it possible that Mary's mistake in thinking he was a gardener wasn't a mistake of vocation, but of recognition? Because actually, God is a kind of gardener, right? He grows things, he creates things, he flourishes things. And gardens, like no other things, display resurrection power. They are places of decay and death from which new life springs. And the resurrection of Jesus, from death to life, from a tomb and a garden, points, I think it shouts, it says, this is the transition point of all things. And new things are coming because of Jesus. And it points to the absolute importance of the resurrection for our faith. Christ is risen? You don't know what to say. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. It's a big deal. It's okay to think or even say, are you sure? How does it make a difference now when things feel stuck? How does the resurrection make a difference now when I'm mired in doubt? How does it make a difference now when destructive power seems to be more powerful than flourishing all over the world? Sometimes it's hard to see and hear because of what we are expecting or not expecting. What are you expecting with Jesus' resurrection? There is the expectation of faith we call hope. Jesus died and rose again and gives us hope and the promise of new life. We wait for the resurrection of the saints, for our new bodies that will be part of new creation, of which Jesus' resurrection body was the first, as the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15. This hope is present in our response. But sometimes it's hard to see the resurrection because of what we expect and don't expect to see. Like Mary not seeing the resurrected Jesus. She didn't know what the resurrection was like. I find personally that I want to see and hear. I love the doctrines and beliefs, but I need this too. I need to see and hear. What does it mean in the present today? It's one thing to have doctrine, it's another to have actions. We should be looking for it, expect it, because when we see it, we will recognize it. This is what it looks like. It's the creative power of God making all things new through the Holy Spirit in the lives of his people. And this is what that power is like. It's different than the power of death and destruction. It's not the power of domination. It's not using force to impose your way or your will on other people. It's not the power of violence. It's not the power of exploitation, imposing our wills on those who are weaker, possibly. It's creative power. It's the power of new life and growth. It's the power of connecting and coming closer. It's the power of flourishing. It's like a garden. Can you see it? It's there when God's people enter into the decay of this world and bring mercy and love. That's garden power. And because of that, good things grow. It's there when God's people use their power to heal and forgive and show mercy, because resurrection power is like a garden. It's not about destroying, it's about creating. It's there when God's people stand up to the powers of oppression and destruction. It's there when God's people choose to heal instead of dominate. It's in every act of justice and mercy and love that the church does. That is resurrection power. And that's what we should be looking for. Because we are resurrection people. What are you expecting to see? Can you see it? Can you see Jesus as the gardener in the garden, creating new life out of death and decay, creating new life out of pain? Can you see it? I think John wants us to see that we already now are a new creation. Already now. Even as we wait for our own resurrection, this is the mystery of creation that is groaning, waiting for the healing and for the new creation. Jesus' resurrection is God's pledge that nothing broken stays broken. And living in resurrection power is living with that promise every day. And how we interact with the world and with each other. Nothing broken stays broken. That's garden power. Out of the decay comes new life. I think it's fitting that Jesus' tomb was in a garden. And isn't it fitting that Mary saw him as a gardener? Jesus is making all things new, from Eden to new creation. And this is where the world is going, and the resurrection in the garden declares it. Christ is risen. Are you sure? He is risen indeed. I invite you to linger in that tension between declaring it in faith and hope and asking those questions and looking for it in the daily life. He is risen indeed. And it is here now, and it is coming. He is making all things new. He is risen? He is risen. You got it.